And materials, I mean, some things just, I mean, you have to go through materials and you have to, if you have a concept, it has to work for your concept. If it doesn't work for your concept, it goes back into the storage room or it goes somewhere else, to the trash maybe, I don't know. But it's hard to conceptualize something and already know what materials you're going to use. You might know whether you're going to do it three-dimensionally, you might know whether you're going to do it as a painting, you might know whether it's going to work more as a mixed media piece or assemblage or something. That you might know, but as far as picking the materials, they kind of pick you too. Because you've accrued these things over a long period of time, and when you pick those things up, there's something already in your mind that you're thinking that you have use for that. Else you wouldn't pick it up and take it home. Let me tell you, you grow up with a family of 10 kids, you better have a sense of humor. My dad was funny, my mother was funny, my sisters, my uncles, all my ancestors and people that I associate, my friends. I mean, you're not going to be my friend. If you don't have a sense of humor, we're not going to be friends. That's one thing that I've always had and always will have, and humor comes out in my work. It comes out in things that you can recognize. It also comes out in little inside jokes that maybe only black people might know, but it's still funny. And I like to do funny things. I don't take myself that seriously about everything. There are some issues that are extremely serious, and when I'm working with those, yes, but there's also a balance to all this. I mean, there's things that are funny in our society. There's funny things in my life. So that's where my humor comes from my family and my friends. I mean, that's always been part of my makeup. And I'm funny. I'm funny. I'm a funny guy. I'm an analog man. I'm really, my family calls me analog man. I don't have a smartphone. I never send a text. I don't have an email address. The only thing I do on the computer is Photoshop or Lightroom or something, messing with those photos, but I'm not that, I'm an analog man, and I'm going to try to change that. I'm going to try to update myself. Maybe sometime in the spring, I'm thinking about getting an iPhone, because I like the camera on the iPhone, and that's something, you always have your phone with you. And I was listening to an interview with Annie Leibovitz, and they were asking her, you know, like, if you had to have a camera, what kind of camera would you have? And you know, Annie can have any camera she wants. And she says, I think it would be the smartphone, the iPhone. And she's right, because I see my daughters and I see what they do. I mean, I just saw a thing a couple of weeks ago on 60 Minutes that Rodriguez, waiting for Sugar Man, that's going to open at Sundance. Rodriguez, that story, I mean, that's the story. I mean, the story is so compelling and so good. You could have shot it with a brownie or anything would have made that story compelling. It's just a great story. But it was all shot with the iPhone. All the video was shot with the iPhone. So, I mean, I'm going to try to update myself because I'm interested in having access to something that gives you that kind of imagery right now. I think if you really dwell into art, or anybody, I mean, supposedly we're all innately creative. I mean, I'm not special. Don't let them fool you. Nothing about me is special, is probably except that my exposure, you know. Also, I guess that's just my person. That's just what I have an affinity for. But I think everybody in here has some creative vein in them somewhere. I know they do. They probably don't know it, but I think when you really get into art, it's an escape. It's like a sanctuary. It's my sanctuary. That's where I go. That's where I spend most of my time. That's where my heart is. That's what I do. But it also is an escape for me. And it also is a place where you can dwell on things that are important to you and try to express those things. It's a means of expression. And if you have problems or you've been exposed to things, usually you want to express those things. Those things are important to you or pertinent to your life, and you find ways of expressing. And I think that's valuable for anyone who wants to have peace of mind in a sanctuary. Art has always been that place, always will be. Well, when you really think about Matisse and Picasso, I mean, they have those really traditional pieces, but they also look for other avenues of approach. And most of them went into the museums, and they studied all the primitive masks and sculptures and so forth. So that the African aspect of that was really a big influence on the motif of modern art. And so when you think about that, and you think about what they were extracting for themselves artistically, you also know that culturally it was quite different. Whereas they had respect for what they were extracting and the simplicity of primitives and so forth in being able to do visual things, when you really look at how African Americans or Africans were depicted, especially in Tintin in the Congo, they're very derogatory images, and they have very little to do with sophistication that you would think would go with something that's someone who's artistic and who has expanded their vision and mind, you know. So when you look at the characters that are really derogatory, they're done about the same time that Matisse and Picasso are doing those great pieces. And so it's just like, I'm just trying to set art history kind of on its side and bring it to view that, you know, whereas the high art, when you go into society and you might call comics or whatever low art, they were depicting something entirely different and something very, very damaging, I think. So the remix series, I used also the Mexican stamp with the Picasso pieces. I used the Tintin in the Congo with the Matisse pieces and the Mexican stamp that came out. I'm not sure what year that was, but it had some very derogatory images on it, and finally they withdrew the stamp, but I got the stamps from an individual that I think her husband was a collector, and he collected the stamps, and she saw the stamps and says, no, you can't keep those stamps, you gotta get rid of those stamps. And I think they were on eBay or something, and a friend of mine got them off of eBay. And I looked at the stamps and said, wow, this is still going on, you know, and the Mexicans don't think it's derogatory at all. So I use those. I use images where you go in there, you're comfortable with Matisse, you're comfortable with Picasso, so you approach the little Matisse and the little Picasso, and all of a sudden you throw this little crook in there, you know, this little thing that's like, what is he doing? Why is he doing that? Why is he messing up these masterpieces, you know? Well, I'm just really trying to draw you in, and then I'm trying to hit you in the gut with another message. And, you know, based on your own exposure and perception, that's how I hope it hits you. This is a vibrant community for me, and it's vibrant because I can do my work and I can expose it to you, and you can enjoy it or not enjoy it, but you can at least have the experience of seeing it. Thank you very much.